was a crisp autumn weekend when we decided to head out for a camping trip in a secluded forest. The leaves were ablaze with colors, and the air carried a hint of wood smoke and earth. We were thrilled, thinking it would be the perfect nature escape. We set up our tents near a tranquil riverbank and spent the day hiking, taking in the breathtaking scenery. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, a sense of unease settled over us. It was like the forest held its breath, waiting for something to unfold. As darkness embraced us, we gathered around the campfire, trying to shake off our apprehension. We laughed, shared stories, and roasted marshmallows. But every now and then, a rustle in the underbrush would interrupt our merriment. At first, we brushed it off as woodland creatures foraging for food. But as the noises persisted and grew closer, we couldn't ignore the feeling that we were being watched. Then came a chilling revelation. A pair of glowing eyes in the darkness. We froze, and our laughter died in our throats. The eyes vanished, but the ominous presence remained. We decided to stay put, hoping it was just a curious animal and not something more sinister. But the forest seemed to have other plans for us. As the night wore on, the sounds around us grew more unsettling. There were whispers, faint murmurs carried by the wind, as if the very trees were speaking in hushed voices. We tried to convince ourselves that it was just the wind playing tricks on our ears. But the fear that gripped us was undeniable. Then, out of nowhere, a mournful wailing echoed through the forest, a cry that sent chills down our spines. It wasn't an animal, nor was it human. It was something otherworldly, and we couldn't comprehend what we were hearing. Panic set in, and we debated whether to stay or flee. But as if to seal our decision, a low, guttural growl emanated from the shadows. We knew we had to get out of there, and fast. Grabbing our belongings, we ran through the darkness, stumbling over roots and rocks. The forest seemed to play tricks on us, twisting paths we knew well and leading us deeper into its depths. The wailing followed us, growing louder and more desperate. It was as if the forest itself was alive, taunting us and reveling in our terror. Finally, with our hearts pounding and breaths ragged, we broke through the tree line and found ourselves back in civilization. The forest had released its grip on us, and we were safe. We never did find out what exactly lurked in that forest that night, and we didn't want to. We all agreed never to return there. The experience had left us scarred, and we couldn't shake the feeling that we had encountered something beyond our understanding. So, if you ever find yourself in a remote forest, take heed of the warning signs. Nature can be beautiful and awe-inspiring, but it can also hold mysteries that are best left unsolved. It was a few years ago when my friends Lucas, Emma, Jake, Maya, and I decided to venture into the heart of this ancient forest for a thrilling adventure. We had heard rumors about strange things happening in that forest, but we brushed them off as local superstitions. I mean, how spooky could a camping trip be, right? The first day seemed innocent enough. The forest was beautiful, and we were having a blast, laughing and setting up camp by the serene lake. As the sun set, though, the atmosphere changed. It was like the forest had a mind of its own, and it didn't feel welcoming anymore. As we sat by the campfire, the sounds of the forest began to spook us. The rustling leaves, distant hoots of owls, and the occasional howling didn't help us feel at ease. But we figured it was all part of the camping experience, so we laughed it off. But then as the night grew darker, we heard something strange outside our tents. Footsteps, like someone was pacing around us. It sent shivers down our spines. We tried to calm ourselves, saying it was probably just a wild animal. But deep down, we knew it was something else. Mia woke us all up in the middle of the night. She heard the footsteps too, and we could feel our hearts pounding in unison. We stayed quiet, huddled together in fear, listening to the eerie sounds in the darkness. And then the strangest thing happened. We heard this haunting melody, like a sad and beautiful piano tune, coming from somewhere in the distance. It was mesmerizing yet eerie, as if it was calling us deeper into the forest. Lucas, being the brave one, decided to check it out. We were all scared, but we followed him. The melody grew louder as we approached a small clearing. And there, amidst the vines and moss, was an old, tattered piano. But there was no one around. I can't even explain the terror we felt at that moment. It was like the forest itself was alive, playing tricks on us. Shadows seemed to dance, and we couldn't shake the feeling of being watched by something unseen. The piano playing on its own was just too much for us to handle. We ran, almost blindly, back through the forest, guided only by the moonlight. The haunting melody followed us, haunting our every step. Finally, when we reached the edge of the forest, we collapsed, trying to catch our breaths. We knew we had experienced something inexplicable, something beyond our understanding. After that night, we never spoke about it again. It's not the kind of story you share casually, you know? People wouldn't believe it, or they'd think we were making it up. But let me tell you, that night in the forest changed us. It made us realize that there are things out there, things we can't explain, and it's best not to mess with them. So if you ever find yourself in that ancient forest, be careful. You never know what might be watching from the shadows, playing its haunting melodies to lure you in. It was a moonlit night when my friends, Alex, Sarah, and I, decided to camp in the heart of an ancient forest. The forest was known for its haunting beauty, but also for its eerie legends passed down through generations. As we ventured deeper into the woods, the atmosphere shifted, and an unsettling feeling crept over us. The trees seemed to whisper secrets, and the shadows played tricks on our eyes. But we were determined to have a memorable adventure and dismissed our unease as mere imagination. We set up camp near a small, serene pond surrounded by towering trees. The sound of crickets filled the air, and the distant hooting of an owl sent shivers down our spines. Nevertheless, we gathered around the campfire, sharing ghost stories and laughing away our fears. As the night deepened, we couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Each rustle of leaves sent us into nervous glances, and the once welcoming forest now felt like a prison, trapping us in its mysteries. Alex, always the skeptic, tried to rationalize our fears. He said it was all in our heads. But even he couldn't deny the strange occurrences that followed. Sarah and I heard distant whispers, as if the wind was carrying muffled voices from far away. We exchanged worried glances, unsure if our minds were playing tricks on us. Then, out of nowhere, we heard a mournful cry, a sound like no animal we had ever heard before. It echoed through the forest, freezing us in our tracks. It was haunting, full of sorrow, and sent a chill down our spines. As the cries grew louder, we decided to investigate. We followed the sound, led by an unexplainable compulsion, and it took us deeper into the heart of the forest. The cries became more desperate, as if they were calling for help. But we couldn't see anyone or anything in distress. Fear gnawed at our hearts, and we questioned whether we should continue. But curiosity got the better of us, and we pressed on, deeper and deeper into the unknown. Suddenly, the cries ceased, and an oppressive silence settled around us. The forest seemed to hold its breath, as if it was waiting for something to happen. Then, without warning, Sarah let out a blood-curdling scream. We rushed to her side and found her staring at a pale, ghostly figure standing among the trees. It was a woman, her eyes hollow and lifeless, her tattered dress swaying in the breeze. She didn't speak but gazed at us with an intensity that sent terror coursing through our veins. We couldn't move, paralyzed by fear and the inexplicable presence. As quickly as the apparition appeared, she vanished into thin air, leaving us in shock and disbelief. We didn't stay to question what we saw. Without a word, we fled from the forest, racing back to civilization, our hearts pounding with a mixture of fear and awe. We never spoke of the encounter again, fearing that others would dismiss it as a mere figment of our imagination. But to this day, I can't forget the haunting cries and the ghostly figure that visited us in that ancient forest. It's a memory that serves as a constant reminder that there are mysteries in this world beyond our comprehension, and some encounters are better left unexplained. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. That way, you won't miss any of our future uploads. We're always exploring and sharing spooky horror stories, so you definitely don't want to miss out. Join our growing community of Creepverse Chronicle subscribers, and let's dive into more thrilling adventures together. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and feel free to leave your comments and suggestions down below. Until next time, stay curious and stay scared.